Discovered my long-distance girlfriend lied about her life. Now I'm trapped with emotional burdens and looming drastic threats. I'm a 22-year-old guy who's been in a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend, who's 29 and lives about 1,500 kilometers away. We met online by sheer chance, and things started off slowly, just texting and talking on Discord, building a friendship. Over time, things grew deeper between us, and eventually, we made it official. Our very first in-person meeting is coming up in just a week. She wants me to stay with her for 2 weeks, but honestly, the closer it gets, the more overwhelmed I feel. From the very beginning, something felt off. There were times she seemed to deliberately hide things or outright misled me. For example, she kept telling me about her job, but right before our meeting, she admitted she hadn't been honest about it. Even more surprising, she confessed that her roommate never existed. For a year and a half, she'd been weaving stories about this roommate, but the reality was that she lives with her landlord, who is also her employer. Every time she made one of these confessions, it was always after asking me to make a promise or pushing me into agreeing to something. What truly shook me was recalling our very first conversations. She told me she was a lesbian and felt uncomfortable being around men, so I kept my distance, honored her boundaries, and thought that would keep things clear. 6 months in, though, she dropped a bombshell. She confessed her feelings for me out of the blue, and instantly asked me if I wanted to be with her right there during the call. No time to think, no space to catch my breath. It all happened so fast that if I hadn't been caught off guard, I would have kept my distance, specifically to avoid getting tangled up in something like this. Looking back, I realize I never really had a fair chance to get to know her. After every revelation, she'd give me these last-minute confessions, but never allowed me any time to process them. Now, with our meeting looming, I'm terrified that some new secret will come out and I'll find myself trapped in yet another situation I can't control. My trust is shattered, and I can't shake the constant worry about what might come up next. Negativity seems to be at the core of our relationship now. She's always accusing me of not doing enough for her, saying my messages aren't emotional or loving enough, constantly challenging me to prove myself. Sometimes, she and her landlord, who she'd always called her roommate, both confront me with accusations. I find myself defending and explaining endlessly, always on eggshells. All this negativity, all these insecurities, feel like they've squeezed out any room for something good or lighthearted. Yet, she wants me to open up more about myself, but how can I when all my energy is spent just trying to survive the emotional gauntlet or support her through her endless struggles? She's placed so much hope on me. She dreams of moving to Germany, starting a family together. But I'm still a student, I have no financial security, no mental space for these huge life steps. I've tried to make this clear to her, but she focuses on how lonely she is, how much she hates her environment, her mental health issues. I feel constantly weighed down, overwhelmed by this sense of responsibility for her well-being, when lately, I barely even know who she really is anymore. What makes this unbearable is that she's hinted more than once at thinking of doing something drastic if we broke up. That knowledge has eaten away at my resolve, trapping me in a guilt I can't escape. I don't want to hurt her. I truly don't. But I'm at my breaking point. I'm losing myself, clearly unable to cope or be the person she needs, and I know, deep down, I just can't go on like this. I need advice. How do I end this relationship as respectfully as possible, especially with her projecting so much onto me and relying on me for everything? I want to be kind, I want to be fair, but I can't keep living like this. Update 1. Since the moment I made my decision, everything has become so overwhelming that I sometimes feel like I can't breathe. Navigating this situation feels completely impossible, and I'm struggling under the weight of it all. I wanted to tell her about my decision during a phone call Monday evening, to speak from the heart and allow her the space to respond. But things unraveled quickly. She immediately sensed something was wrong and insisted on knowing what was going on through messages. So I explained, even though I knew it would hurt us both deeply. She still wanted to have that conversation on the phone, but when it started to feel like she was dismissing my emotions and my health, minimizing, denying, pushing aside what I was going through, I just broke. It was too much. I wrote her one final, detailed, and emotional farewell message. Then I blocked her everywhere. Not out of anger, but because it felt like the only way left to protect us both from being pulled into a spiral of pain. I was just completely overwhelmed, but she didn't let it end there. She gave my number to a friend, who reached out and asked for a final conversation. She needed to process, and the guilt hit me hard. Had I really just walked away and denied her the chance to respond? I agreed to a conversation later that evening. Before that even happened, she called me to wish me goodnight and started sobbing, truly, violently crying, saying the pain was unbearable, that she couldn't live without me, that the idea of me moving on with someone else was too much. She told me, outright, she was having suicidal thoughts. That shook me to my core. I did my best to stay calm, to comfort her, to support her emotionally, but I also told her, gently, but firmly, that my decision was final, and at the same time tried to remind her that she was strong and she could make it through anything. The next morning, she asked for another call, saying she had something important to tell me. She revealed she was on a ship visiting relatives, so she'd have family around during this painful time. What happened next caught me completely off guard. She sent me a list of Airbnbs in my town. She wanted to fly out to me the coming Monday, to help take care of me through my health struggles, to support and be there for me. She even said she'd wait for me at the hospital if it came to that. Panic raced through me. I couldn't say yes, but I couldn't say no, either. I told her I needed time to think. Every single boundary I tried to set was met with even more desperate emotions. I felt trapped. I wasn't trying to hurt her, but I could see she was in real pain, clinging to whatever she could, not to harm me, but in a way that just pulled me in deeper. I felt like I was falling apart. I don't want to give her false hope, but every time she pours her heart out, every time she talks about how she can endure the pain, everything in me wants to comfort her. Her emotional intensity, her desperate need for love and safety, her talk of suicide, it makes it almost impossible to truly let go. And then I start wondering, am I doing the right thing? Yes, she can be so loving and caring and gentle. Yes, she's lied to me about some serious things before. Yes, being her entire emotional support has left me drained and exhausted. But when she says, "You're the only one I've ever felt safe with," I start feeling like I'm the villain for walking away. She's told me how terrified she is of therapy because of a traumatic experience. Once, she was medicated and committed to a psychiatric facility against her will. The idea of ever going through that again terrifies her, so she'd rather suffer alone. That thought alone paralyzes me. I'm terrified of doing or saying anything that might push her to the edge. At the same time, every additional conversation seems to keep her hope alive that I might come back, and I know it's only making things worse for both of us. Without a true break, a real ending, one I thought I had for at least half a day, I can't move on. I can't find peace, I can't focus on my studies, I'm just frozen in worry and sadness and guilt. I am completely out of answers. Tonight, we're supposed to talk again, to finally lay it all out. I promised her I wouldn't just disappear or block her again without warning, and I mean to keep that promise. But I also know I can't stay emotionally available to her, sacrificing myself to get her through this grief. I just can't do it anymore, it's destroying me piece by piece. More than anything, I just want her to be okay. But I don't know how to walk away without feeling like I'm abandoning her at her lowest, like I'm responsible for her pain. How do I respect what she's going through without feeling responsible for it? Is that even possible? I feel so responsible for her well-being. I know that isn't rational, but it's crushing me. I just want to do the right thing, for both of us, and I feel utterly lost. Update 2. Unfortunately, it feels like nothing is getting better. No matter what I try, things only get worse, and I'm desperate to find some way out before I completely break down. A few days ago, I ended a year-long, long-distance relationship with my ex-girlfriend. The relationship was exhausting, not only because of the lies she kept telling me, but also because the emotional weight from my life, especially from this relationship, left me utterly drained, mentally, physically, entirely. When I broke things off, I explained in a detailed message that it was over for good. Despite that, she kept reaching out to me, using any means she could, her friend, even her mother, and asking for a final conversation. With each new attempt, my anxiety grew. And then, she told me she was coming to my area. That announcement alone made my heart race, filling me with dread. We ended up having the conversation she wanted. I tried to stay calm and honest, explaining all over again why I just couldn't go on like this. I told her things I hadn't even shared here before, like how badly my health had deteriorated. But what totally threw me was how she ignored or twisted so much of what I said. She clung to the parts where I told her she was strong or important to me, and completely disregarded my clear statements about my decision and my boundaries. Still, I couldn't bring myself, during that call, to say flat out that I didn't want any contact anymore, partly out of fear of how she'd react, partly because I just wasn't emotionally ready to face it. The next day, I messaged her again and made it clear that nothing had changed, my decision was final. Wanting to be fair, I told her she could write me her thoughts, and she did. I answered every question she had. But right afterward, she asked for yet another call, saying she couldn't, and didn't want to, live without me. I declined, wished her well, urged her to reach out to family, and, together with her friend, blocked her everywhere. I thought maybe this was the end. I felt numb and empty, but also relieved to have finally set a boundary. But relief was short-lived. Later that Thursday, I went to the movies with my best friend. He was celebrating his birthday and I just wanted to forget everything for a while. Right before the movie started, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number, this time, apparently, her mother. I just wanted one evening of peace, just one day to start processing. The message was confusing, understanding, but also incredibly stressful. Her mother said she understood my decision and didn't wish me any harm, but then added she now has heart problems herself. She stressed she wouldn't harm herself, but said she wouldn't intervene if something happened. She asked me to keep open lines of communication between us in case we needed to check on each other's health. Meanwhile, my own health is teetering on the edge, my heart's in terrible shape, my fatigue is beyond overwhelming, and my doctors warned me this could do long-term damage. At home, things aren't any better. My sister needs constant care after brain tumor surgery, my father's unemployed, again, and I'm saddled with bureaucracy for both of them. I'm not trying to complain, I just can't do it anymore. So, I decided, I'd do nothing for now. I took Friday for myself, just to recover, hoping Saturday would bring some clarity. Then, this morning, another message from her. Now she's booked an Airbnb near me, arriving Monday, just 35 kilometers away in the nearest big city. She assured me she wasn't crossing boundaries or trying to force a meeting. She just needed this for her self-therapy, to let go, to feel she'd been close, even if only to the place I live. And then came her request, could we meet, just for a hug? A little later, more messages arrived, old screenshots of chat histories, no explanation, just old messages, where we wished each other well and gave strength. I'm stunned. She's leaving, apparently with no return ticket, barely any money, traveling alone, and nobody in her life is stopping her. Not even her mother. And I don't just feel uneasy, I'm truly scared. Scared she'll show up at my door. Scared I'll give in. Scared the one safe place I have left, my home, won't feel safe anymore. I don't want anyone to get hurt. I truly wish she gets better, I hope things turn out okay for her, but this isn't normal. I'm hanging by a thread. I can hardly sleep, can barely eat, my heart pounds and my mind won't stop racing. I wish I knew what to do. Update 3. I never thought I'd be writing another update this soon, but everything has spiraled completely out of control. Monday came and went, and somehow things got even worse than I could have imagined. She actually showed up. Not at my door, thankfully, but she's here, in my city, 35 kilometers away like she said. What I didn't expect was how this would affect me mentally. Every sound outside makes me jump. Every time my phone buzzes, my heart races. I've been checking the locks on my doors obsessively. Tuesday morning, I got a call from an unknown local number. Against my better judgment, I answered. It was her, calling from the Airbnb. Her voice was different, calmer, but in a way that somehow made everything feel more unsettling. She told me she'd been walking around the city center, visiting places I'd mentioned in our conversations over the past year and a half. The cafe where I sometimes study, the park where I jog, even the street where my university is located. She said it made her feel connected to my life. That's when the panic really set in. She knows too much about my daily routine. She asked again about meeting, just for coffee, just to close this chapter properly. I told her no, as gently but firmly as I could. She seemed to accept it, which should have been a relief. But something in her tone made me uneasy, like she was planning something she wasn't telling me about. Wednesday evening, my best friend called me. He'd been at a bar downtown with some classmates when he noticed a woman sitting alone at a corner table, staring at her phone and crying. He didn't think much of it until he overheard her talking to someone on the phone in what sounded like her native language. She kept showing a photo to the bartender, pointing at it. My friend got curious and managed to catch a glimpse. It was a photo of me. One I'd never seen before, probably a screenshot from one of our video calls. She was asking if anyone had seen me. My friend immediately left and called me. I felt sick to my stomach. She's not just visiting places I've mentioned, she's actively looking for me, showing my photo around. The self-therapy story was complete bullshit. Thursday brought a new horror. I got a message from her friend, the same one who had contacted me before. But this time, the message was strange. She said my ex had asked her to check on me because she was worried about my health and wanted to make sure I was eating properly and taking care of myself. She asked if I'd been to any doctors lately, if I was alone at home, if my family was around to support me. The questions felt like she was gathering information about my schedule, my living situation, my daily habits. I didn't respond, but the damage was done. I realized my ex had probably been coaching her friend on what to ask. Then came Friday, yesterday, and everything exploded. I was at the university library, trying to focus on my studies and get some normalcy back. Around 3 p.m., the librarian approached my desk and quietly told me there was a woman at the information desk asking about me. My blood ran cold. She described me perfectly and was asking about my class schedule, claiming to be a friend who wanted to surprise me. The librarian, thankfully, didn't give out any information, but told me I might want to use the back exit. I grabbed my things and practically ran out of there, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might give out. When I got home, there was a handwritten note slipped under my door. In her handwriting. Just my name and a heart symbol. Nothing else. She'd been to my house, she knows where I live. I called my best friend, completely panicking. He came over immediately and we called the police. But here's the problem, she technically hasn't done anything illegal. The note wasn't threatening, she hasn't trespassed on private property, and when she asked about me at the university, she didn't lie about being a friend. The officer who came was sympathetic but explained that unless she makes direct threats or violates a restraining order, there's not much they can do. A restraining order would take time to process, and I'd need evidence of harassment or threats. The officer suggested I document everything and avoid being alone when possible. Last night, I barely slept. Every small sound made me think she was trying to get in. This morning, I found another note, this one under my car's windshield wiper in the parking garage of my building. It said, I saw you yesterday. You look tired. Please take care of yourself. I'm still here if you need me. She's watching me. Following me. And somehow, she's managed to do it without me noticing. I don't know what to do anymore. My friend is staying with me for now, but he can't be here forever. My family is dealing with too much to burden them with this. I'm too afraid to leave the house alone, Too anxious to focus on anything. The worst part is that tiny voice in my head that wonders if I should just meet with her, just once, to make this stop, but I know that's exactly what she wants, to wear me down until I give in. I feel like I'm losing my mind. How did a relationship that started online turn into this nightmare? And how do I make it stop when the police say they can't help until she actually threatens me directly? She's supposed to fly back home tomorrow, but I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe anything she says. And I'm terrified of what she might do next. Update 4. I don't even know where to begin. It's been a week since my last update, and I honestly didn't think things could get any more insane. I was wrong. So wrong. First, the good news, she didn't fly back home when she was supposed to. The Airbnb booking ended, but she's still here. I found out because on Sunday morning, I got a text from my downstairs neighbor asking if I was expecting someone. She'd been sitting in the lobby of my building since 6 a.m., telling anyone who asked that she was waiting for her boyfriend to come home. My neighbor, bless her, didn't let her up and called building security when she refused to leave. But here's where it gets really twisted. That same afternoon, I got a call from my university. Someone had called the International Student Services office, claiming to be my girlfriend from abroad, saying she was worried about my mental health and asking them to do a welfare check. She told them I'd been sending her concerning messages and might be having a breakdown. The administrator who called me was confused because I'm not even an international student, and they had no record of any emergency contacts matching her description. I realized she was systematically trying to insert herself into every part of my life, my building, my school, probably my workplace next. It was like she was trying to create this narrative that she belonged in my world, that people should expect to see her around. Then Tuesday happened. I was walking back from campus with my friend when I spotted her across the street. She wasn't hiding anymore, she waved at me. Actually waved, like we'd planned to meet. My friend saw her too and immediately steered me toward a crowded cafe. We sat by the window, and I watched her stand there for 20 minutes, just staring at the place we'd gone into. She had this smile on her face that made my skin crawl. Like she was enjoying some private joke. But the real bombshell came Wednesday evening. My phone rang, and it was my mom. She sounded confused and a little upset. Apparently, some woman had called my parents' house, a number I've never given to my ex, by the way, claiming to be a close friend of mine. She told my mother that I'd been having health problems and wasn't taking care of myself, and that my family should be more involved. She even mentioned specific details about my sister's surgery and my dad's job situation. Things I'd told her months ago in confidence. My mom was calling to check if I was okay, but also to ask who this woman was and how she knew so much about our family. I had to explain the whole situation to my parents, and now they're worried sick. My dad even offered to come stay with me, but I can't drag them into this mess. They have enough to deal with. The worst part? During that call to my mom, she'd given a fake name, but she'd also mentioned that she was in town visiting and would love to meet them sometime. She was trying to get an invitation to my family home. The thought of her showing up at my parents' house, where my recovering sister is staying, makes me physically ill. Thursday night, I was lying in bed when I heard something that made my blood freeze. Footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment, stopping right at my door. Then, very softly, I heard her voice. She was talking to someone on the phone, probably thinking I was asleep. I couldn't make out everything, but I caught fragments. He's definitely inside. Saw his light go off an hour ago. Think he's avoiding me because he's embarrassed. She was giving someone a play-by-play of my evening routine. Someone who was apparently asking questions about my habits, my schedule. I realized she wasn't working alone anymore. Someone back home was helping her, maybe even encouraging this. I called the police again, and this time they took it more seriously. The officer who came out explained that while they still couldn't arrest her, they could document everything and have a patrol car drive by my building more frequently. He also gave me information about emergency restraining orders and suggested I start carrying pepper spray. But here's the thing that's really messing with my head. Yesterday, I ran into Sarah, a girl from my advanced statistics class. We've talked a few times this semester, nothing serious, just study group stuff. She asked if I was okay because I'd seemed distracted lately, and before I knew it, I was telling her everything. She was incredibly understanding and offered to walk with me to classes for a while, just so I wouldn't be alone on campus. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe normally around someone. Sarah has this calming presence, and when she suggested we grab coffee after our study session, I actually said yes. It was the most normal I'd felt in months. We ended up talking for 3 hours about everything except my situation, books, movies, our plans after graduation. When she walked me back to my building, I almost felt like a regular person again. That feeling lasted exactly 12 hours. This morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from my ex's number. When I finally listened to the voicemails, my stomach dropped. She'd seen me with Sarah yesterday. She knew who Sarah was, what classes she takes, where she lives on campus. In the messages, her voice was different, not desperate anymore, but cold and angry. "I see you've moved on quickly," she said in one message. "That's interesting, considering you told me you needed space to focus on your health. Sarah seems nice. I hope she knows what she's getting into." The last voicemail was just her breathing for 30 seconds, then hanging up. I immediately called Sarah to warn her, and that's when I learned something that made everything 10 times worse. Sarah told me that earlier this week, someone had been asking about her around campus too. A woman matching my ex's description had approached her study group, claiming to be a journalism student working on a project about international relationships and how they affect academic performance. She'd asked specifically about Sarah, about her family, about whether she was seeing anyone. My ex had been stalking Sarah before Sarah and I had even really talked. She'd somehow identified Sarah as someone I might be interested in and had been gathering information about her. Now I'm sitting here, realizing that this has gone way beyond trying to get me back. She's not just obsessed with me, she's trying to control and sabotage any possibility of me having a normal life. And I've accidentally dragged Sarah into this nightmare. I don't know what she's planning next, but I have this horrible feeling that things are about to get much, much worse. The police keep saying they need more evidence, but how much evidence do I need? How far does this have to go before someone takes action? Sarah insisted she's not scared and doesn't want me to feel guilty, but I can see the worry in her eyes. And the worst part is, for the first time since this all started, I actually have someone, worth protecting. Which means my ex now has a new way to hurt me. Update 5. I never imagined I'd be back here writing another update, but everything has completely imploded in ways I couldn't have predicted. The past 10 days have been an absolute nightmare, and I'm honestly not sure how much more I can take. First, let me address what happened with Sarah. After I warned her about my ex potentially targeting her, Sarah insisted she wasn't going to let some unhinged woman dictate her life. I admired her courage, but I was terrified for her safety. We agreed to be extra cautious, always meeting in public places, walking together between classes, that sort of thing. For a few days, it actually seemed like my ex had backed off. No more notes, no sightings, no mysterious phone calls. I started to hope maybe she'd finally given up and gone home. I should have known better. Last Thursday, Sarah and I were studying in the university library when she got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of us sitting together, taken from somewhere inside the library, with the message, "He didn't tell you about me, did he?" Sarah showed me immediately, and we both looked around frantically, but couldn't spot anyone suspicious. That's when Sarah told me something that made my blood run cold. She'd been getting weird messages all week from different numbers, nothing threatening, just strange. Comments about her appearance, her schedule, questions about her family. She'd thought they were random spam, but now realized they were all connected to my ex. We left the library immediately and went to campus security. They took it seriously this time, especially when Sarah showed them all the messages. They assigned us a security escort for the rest of the week and promised to review the library's security footage. But my ex was just getting started. Friday evening, I was at home when Sarah called, crying. Someone had called her parents in another state, claiming to be from the university administration. They told her parents that Sarah had been involved in an incident with another student and that there might be disciplinary action. Her parents were frantic, calling the real administration office, calling Sarah, demanding to know what was happening. The caller had known specific details about Sarah's family, her parents' names, where they lived, even her little brother's school schedule. Sarah was terrified and furious. How does she know all this about me? She kept asking. I didn't have an answer. Then came Saturday, and everything exploded. Sarah and I had planned to stay low-key, maybe watch a movie at my place. But around noon, she texted saying she needed to run to the grocery store first and would be over in an hour. That was the last normal message I got from her. 2 hours later, my phone rang. It was Sarah, but something was immediately wrong. Her voice was shaky, scared. "She's here," Sarah whispered. "She's in the store. She's been following me around, pretending to shop, but she keeps getting closer. I'm hiding in the bathroom right now." I told her to call the police and that I was on my way. But before I could even grab my keys, Sarah called back. "She's gone," she said, sounding confused. "She just left. But she left something for me." When I got to the store, Sarah was in the parking lot with a security guard, holding a small envelope. Inside was a printed photo, a screenshot from one of my video calls with my ex from months ago. On the back, in my ex's handwriting, it said, "Ask him about the promises he made me." That's when I realized how calculated this all was. My ex wasn't just stalking us randomly, she was trying to plant seeds of doubt, to make Sarah question our relationship and my honesty. But the real gut punch came that evening. Sarah and I were at my apartment, trying to process everything, when she got a phone call from her best friend back home. Someone had created a fake social media profile using Sarah's photos and information, and was messaging all of Sarah's friends and family members with bizarre, concerning posts about Sarah's mental health crisis and her dangerous relationship with an unstable man. The profile looked convincingly real. It had photos of Sarah that weren't even public, personal details that only someone who'd been thoroughly stalking her would know. Sarah's grandmother had seen one of the posts and was calling Sarah's parents in tears, convinced Sarah was having a breakdown. Sarah spent hours on the phone trying to explain to her family that none of it was real, that someone was impersonating her. Watching her go through that, seeing how my problems had completely invaded and disrupted her life, was devastating. That night, Sarah looked at me with exhausted eyes and said something that broke my heart. "I care about you, I really do. But I can't live like this. She's not just ruining your life, she's systematically destroying mine. I knew she was right. I told her she should distance herself from me, at least until this was over. She protested, saying she didn't want to abandon me, but I could see the relief in her face when I insisted. We agreed to take a break from seeing each other, just until my ex was gone for good. Sarah deserved to have her life back, and I couldn't keep dragging her into this nightmare. But my ex wasn't done. Sunday morning, I woke up to find that the fake profile of Sarah had been deleted, but now there was a new one, of me. Someone had created an incredibly detailed fake profile using my photos, posts about my health issues, my family situation, even screenshots of private conversations I'd had with friends. The profile was posting rambling, incoherent messages about depression, suicidal thoughts, and relationship betrayals. My phone started ringing immediately. Friends, classmates, even professors were calling to check on me because they'd seen these posts and were genuinely worried. I had to explain to dozens of people that someone was impersonating me online. The worst part was that mixed in with the obviously fake dramatic posts were real details about my life that only someone very close to me would know. It was like my ex was using my own vulnerabilities and private struggles as weapons against me. Then yesterday happened, and I realized just how far she's willing to go. I was at the campus medical center for a routine appointment related to my ongoing health issues, when the receptionist told me there had been a miscommunication. Someone claiming to be my girlfriend had called earlier and canceled my appointment, saying I was too unstable to leave home safely and that I needed immediate psychiatric intervention instead. They'd taken the call seriously enough to actually contact campus counseling services, who then tried to reach me for a welfare check. I had to sit there explaining to a counselor that no, I wasn't having a mental health crisis, and no, I didn't have a girlfriend who would make medical decisions for me. But here's the part that really terrifies me: whoever called had known not just that I had an appointment, but what time it was and what it was for. The receptionist said the caller had referenced specific medical terminology related to my condition. My ex somehow has access to my private medical information. I'm writing this from my friend's apartment because I no longer feel safe at home. Every system I thought was private and secure, my medical records, my family's contact information, my daily routines, she's found a way to infiltrate all of it. The police finally seem to be taking this seriously, especially after the medical appointment incident. They're calling it harassment and stalking now, and they've opened an official investigation. But they warned me that building a case takes time, and in the meantime, I need to be extremely careful. Sarah texted me yesterday evening. Just 3 words: I miss you. I miss her too, desperately. But I can't even respond because I know my ex is probably monitoring everything. Any contact I have with Sarah just puts her back in the crosshairs. I feel completely isolated, like my ex has managed to cut me off from everyone and everything that matters to me. And the scariest part is, I don't think she's done yet. Whatever she's building toward, I have this horrible feeling that the worst is still coming. How did my life become a thriller movie that I can't escape from?